Welcome to today's video where we will be talking all about the shadow self. And to start this video, I will give you a quote that I just find just sums it up. So the portal to every next level is through the parts of yourself that you avoid. And I really think that sums it up. So let's talk about the subconscious. So the subconscious is something we all have. It greatly influences our daily thoughts, our actions, and our desires. But then there's another part of the subconscious, which is called the shadow self. And that's those kind of the dark side. According to Carl Jung, those morbid thoughts and desires, and then at the other extreme, it's the very evil and animalistic nature of humans. And if we can integrate that part of ourselves, Carl Jung actually says that we will reach self-actualization. So how do we do it? Well, in our society, it is kind of frowned upon to behave in such ways. So we do really need to look into our unconscious thoughts and beliefs and really discover feelings, where they come from and why we have them. Some of those ways will be through dreaming or sleeping or any situations where you feel angry or resentful, but we're going to get into that a bit later on. So what you really want to do, in order to work with the shadow, we really need to notice the dark energy and then integrate it. What we essentially want to do is into something more creative, something more meaningful work, something that is helpful. And what meditation and mindfulness can really do is to help us to uncover those thoughts, to realize where they're coming from, and we can really look into how they do affect our reality. So for those of you who don't know me already, my name is Elise. Welcome to the channel and thank you so much for being here. I share things on here that the topics that I just really enjoy, things I loved getting into, and spirituality is one of my passions. So thank you so much for being here. And if you have any questions at all or anything that you want me to cover, I would be more than happy to. So let's get into the shadow. And why on earth do we need to look into the shadow? Well, it's just one of those topics that comes up and up again and again. And I'm sure you've seen these videos, how to do the shadow work. Oh, that's the shadow, there's memes and all sorts. And what better time to do it? We're coming up to the full moon. And what happens around the full moon is that the moon, they say that the moon highlights, when it's full, it creates that light. It highlights the part of ourselves or deep parts of our psyche that in general, we tend to kind of overlook. We just, we go about our day to day. We want to get on with our work. We want to have a nice time with our family. We want to just, go day to day. But then sometimes there's that niggling feeling. And around the full moon, you might notice that things can get a little bit crazy. So yes, as I said, the moon is actually highlighting those things that we do need to look at. And that's why people can seem more crazy around the time of the full moon. Even my friend said the other day that they get higher amounts of people in A&E during that time, more accidents, there's more cat fights in the streets. I've had my vet has spoken to me about that before. So yes, we do get affected by energies. And what it really is encouraging us to do is to look at those parts in our lives that we're kind of avoiding or not willing to look at, or maybe hoping that it will disappear. So let's dive in to the shadow. And you do have to be ready to do the shadow work. It's not something that you can just, because once you are more aware, I hope you guys can see me okay. There's a huge black cloud that's just come across the sky. 5 minutes ago it was bright sunshine and I had to close the shades to stop the sunlight from coming in. And now, as we're talking about the shadow, the big cloud of shadow has come across the sky. So let me just put some light on. That's quite funny. I hope that's helped a little bit. Yes, I think it's going to rain. How funny. So let's talk about the laws of polarity. So according to the laws of polarity, and there are universal laws, there's a lot of talk in spirituality of all the different laws in the universe, and one of those is the law of polarity. So the law of polarity states that everything is dual. We live in a world of duality. So we have day and we have night, and they're all the same. They're on the same spectrum, but at different ends. We have hot, we have cold. What else do we have? We have light and we have darkness. It's all on the same spectrum. So you can't have one without having the other. You see where I'm going here? So whilst we want to be absolutely positive all the time, and I love being positive, we can't deny the fact that we also have negative feelings. We also have the side of us that does get angry, that does get resentful, that does feel bad sometimes. We can't always be happy, and although I try. So that's where the law of polarity really comes in. They exist simultaneously, and it all depends upon our beliefs on where we sit on that scale. So working on our core beliefs is one of the most important things that we can do. And we can do that by looking at our shadow. So what usually happens is from a young age that we are programmed that it's not okay to show these bad or negative behaviours. You see it all the time, don't you? With kids, and it's not their fault, of course. That's the way we're taught. We can only be taught how we are taught. So until we know differently, that's the way it is. So yeah, if you see, people talking to their children, don't do that. You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't feel like this. You shouldn't do that. And this really just nails it into us that, oh, okay, I shouldn't feel this. I should be a good person. And a good person doesn't have these bad feelings. Or a good person doesn't do or shout or do something. And then what happens is we repress these feelings. We put them down and we end up suppressing them until one day it gets too much. And we shout. Something pushes us to the limit and we shout and we cry and we scream and we act crazy, normally around the full moon when it all comes out. So that kind of thing is where the shadow work really, really does come into play. It's where we need to take the time to understand our beliefs. It's where we need to take the time to look deep within us and where these things are coming from. So depending on the level of integration is how successful we are in life. Without successful integration, you may find that you're always experiencing the same pattern. You may experience the same thing in relationships. You may experience, it can be a romantic relationship or a friendship or within the family situation, any of the relationships that you have close, you may find that, something always happens to me, or this always happens to me, or I always feel like this, or I always feel like that. And it's just an invitation really to look into where it's coming from. Where is it coming from deep down? And when we do the shadow work, it can be a really good question to ask yourself, where am I now? And where is it that I want to be? Because when we ask those questions, the shadow work will actually make us aware of what needs to be changed. And so you do need to be aware of that, because if you're not ready for that, we can look into the shadow. We can start to uncover the things that actually they're not in alignment with who I am. And then if we're not prepared to actually change anything, then we're going to suffer even more. For example, if you're somebody who starts to do the shadow work and you realize that you need to have more, what you actually need in your life is to focus on your health. Let's say, for example, somebody who's struggling with their health, they may come to the realization, I've never put myself first. I need to practice self-love, and I need to practice that by treating my body right, eating the foods that nourish me, or spending time exercising, doing things outdoors, walking, you name it. And then what happens is they're not willing to put in the effort. So you have to follow it up with action in order to feel more aligned. So only uncovering the shadow is not enough. We actually need to implement ways on how we can integrate that and live it as part of our truth and as part of our path. And by doing the shadow work, it is a fast track and catalyst for change. It's really going to point you in the direction of what you need to change. And if you're not ready to make that change, or you're unwilling to do the shadow work, then don't start. It's it's better not to start, because it is going to get uncomfortable. And that is something very important that you do need to know. So, if you've made it this far into the video, then congratulations. Obviously, there is something within you that's ready to hear the things that I'm saying today. So how can we actually do shadow work then? Because ultimately the goal is to have more peace in our lives, isn't it? Let's face it. More peace and more love, more clarity in our lives, and more living in our truth and authenticity. How do we start, or how do we do the shadow work? Well, the first step is to accept, to be accepting, and to release any guilt or shame. This isn't about getting into difficult emotions just to, make us feel bad. It's actually to look at the root of them and to uncover what it is that we do need to change within us in order to stop feeling a certain way, or in order for a pattern to stop showing up, and that kind of thing. So we can rewrite the internal narrative into something more loving, more joyful, more peaceful. And actually, it's very interesting once you start to uncover those things and realize that we all have, those things in all of us. You have a different level of compassion for people. And you notice that when people are, if you're in the supermarket, someone's having a meltdown, or, someone's being dramatic, or you can kind of understand them in a deeper level, and you feel compassion for them. There's no need to react or to change their behavior. You know that it's coming from a deep place within them that actually is maybe an unhealed part, or somewhere that needs to be looked at. And you realize that we're all here to do this work, and we're no different to one another. So that was one realization that I kind of had, and it made me a lot more peaceful, honestly. So yeah, we all have stuff to work on. So in order to look into the shadow, one of the ways that really helped me was to kind of, well, first of all, get your journal out, because you're going to be writing a lot, and then take a look at the people or the situations in your life that really make you feel resentful. Something inside it's really painful, or it's something that's you can't understand. So make a note of that situation or that person, and just have a look, write it all down, don't leave anything out. No one's going to look at this. It's your personal, and you don't even need to look at it. You just need to write down what it is, who it is, why they make you feel that way, and what it is about them that you don't like, or what it is about the situation that you don't like. And then once you have discovered what it is about that person or situation that you don't like, or that makes you feel resentful, perhaps it brings up feelings of anger or rage, or perhaps it brings up fears, you can really uncover what it is at the core that's making you feel that way. And it gives you kind of a sense of relief as well as release. So when you realize that actually at the bottom of this feeling that I have for this person, oh, it's just that, or it's because of this, or it's because of that. And you realize that they're just human too. So, for example, I had a big realization one day. One of my good friends, she called me, she said something like, "You're so righteous." And at the time I remember thinking, ooh, I'm so righteous. Doesn't sound good. It didn't sound good the way she was saying it anyway. So I wanted to have a look, where is this coming from? What's underneath that? What does it mean? Why does she feel like that? And maybe it was like several different examples, and it came back to this feeling of judgment. I feel judged. Nobody likes to feel judged. So I came to this realization that, and this all came through with writing. If you've ever tried automatic writing, it's just writing for 5 minutes. And what happens is your kind of subconscious mind takes over, and you start writing from the subconscious mind. You push your mind out of the way, and you just write. Whatever comes, it just flows to you, and you just keep writing. And you'd be surprised what comes up, honestly. So one day I did this, and actually what happened was, it was a very specific event at school when I was probably 11 or 12, where one of the students in the class was saying, I think I made a joke or something, and then the person turned around to me and said, "You can't say that." And I was shocked, and I was ashamed. You can't say that. And I was surprised, and I was, obviously it kind of went into my mind, and it got sucked in, and then I decided from then, must have been from that time, that I can say that. I can say something. I can. So it was, do you see how it's like, it was like I was having an internal battle. But this person said I can't say that, but I can say that. I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them I can say that. And so every time somebody said something that I didn't agree with, I would make sure that they did agree with me. So I would argue. And I would try and get my point across, because I felt deep inside from that tiny, small girl in school that somebody said, you can't say that. I decided that I would make sure that people knew that I could say that. And so when my friends said, "You're so righteous," and I was like, yes, I am. I'm right. I can say things. And that really boiled down to one single event at school where someone said, "You can't say that." So do you see how our subconscious, we remember small details, and we have no idea how they're going to affect us throughout our lives. Of course, since I discovered that, I've stopped being so... I integrated that part of myself which felt like a small girl being told off, and I realized that it's okay. It's okay. I don't need to feel that way anymore. So that's just one example of how to integrate the shadow self. And everybody has different experiences, everybody has different reasons, and looking at the resentment and the judgment, looking at who we're judging. Why do we judge that person for being loud? Why do we find that person to be arrogant? What is it about that person that I don't like? Why is that person triggering me? What is it within myself that I need to look at? Because every single person that we meet is a mirror for ourselves to see what is inside us. And that works the other way around as well. So if we all have a shadow self, then we all have a light self, I guess. And so the love that we can see in others, the beauty that we can see in others, is also the beauty that we can see within us. So it works both ways. So that's good to know. So I'm going to leave it here. Given you some examples, I've given you some tips on how to look into your own shadow. And don't forget, only do it when you're ready. So don't forget, the reason that you're here is to grow your consciousness, to expand your soul, to be a beautiful co-creator in this world. And contrary to what society tells us, which is you're not here for material wealth, success, power, although those things can come as an outcome of you reaching your truest, fullest potential. And I truly believe that because I see it and I believe it. So yes, you came here to expand your consciousness. And please remember, I hope you have a lovely day. And don't forget to check out my other videos if you're interested in some relaxation, meditation techniques, and other spiritual tips that I share on my channel. Thank you for being here. And if you like this, please subscribe and share it with your friends.